we are talking about intentional fouls. And some of the videos I'm going to show are fouls that were just called as common fouls. Some of them are fouls that were called as intentional fouls. And we're going to discuss some I think might have been, if I remember, went through some today, maybe not called anything. And I want to discuss not just the rule, but what rises to the level of an intentional foul. When should you call it? Not by the rule, because the rules are relatively clear, but kind of with as a feel of the game. We all have a feel of the game, but yet at the same time, I think nobody wants to call an intentional foul because they get two shots and they get the ball. And if they, made the basket, they get that basket too. So it's a big penalty to give to someone. And I think as officials, generally we shy away from it and just go with a regular foul when maybe we shouldn't. And then there's times where I've seen some fouls, and I don't know if I have any videos of this, but I've seen some fouls where they've called intentional right away. And I thought to myself, I probably would have just called a common foul there because it just doesn't kind of fit. You have to know the scenario. The kid's trying to foul. He didn't do a great job of fouling. By the book, you're right by calling an intentional foul. But so that's kind of what we plan on doing today. Let's start with the first video. I got to pull it up. Okay, great. Here it goes.
Oh.
All right, before I play it slow, let's play it fast again.
That's intentional.
That's exactly what I would have done.
All right, now what happens? The kid's got a fast break, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing but him and Hardwood to that basket. Easy layup. The defender, who can still make, he's relatively close. That defender can still make a legitimate attempt to stop that play. He could possibly block it. He could, I don't know, get around and get a hand in the face kind of to just obstruct the vision. Or he's got a chance to do something. Do we agree?
Yeah.
But he doesn't try to do anything with the ball. He lowers his hands. It's a little blurry, but he lowers his hands and basically just bumps the guy. It's not a full-on shove, but he bumps the guy in the midsection in his torso, right?
Mm-hmm.
No attempt at the ball.
No attempt at the ball. Now, one could say, I'm not saying this happened, but let's play devil's advocate. Well, he was running so fast to catch up and realized, oh crap, I can't do anything here. And he tried to stop, but couldn't stop and ran into the guy. Let's just say that's the scenario. There's no intent here to do what he did. He just kind of ran into the guy. Okay. That still has to be an intentional foul. Why?
He didn't make any play for the ball at all.
No play for the ball, but just the severe amount of contact that was caused, I think warrants an intentional foul, right? It was overly excessive. Whether you want to say he meant to do it or not, it was overly excessive with no attempt at the ball. Didn't even look like there was a try, right?
Yeah.
And if you let that go, you saw all the crowd, right? And even the coach kind of, after the official signals, immediately intentional foul. Immediately, right? He knows, there's no question about it. He knows. And yet the coach still is like, what? Come on. And he's coming out and look, he's upset and there might be a fight right? That's something where if you don't call an intentional foul on that, it's going to escalate. Not just from the coach who's all mad because he thought you should have had one. That player is now going to keep in his mind, I'm going to get that kid back because he took me out when he didn't have to take me out.
Hey, Josh.
Yes.
My comment to the coach on those type of plays that they ever argue, I always tell them that's not a basketball play.
It's not a basketball play. It's a good thing to say. In that specific play, I would say, coach, he hit him hard and made absolutely no attempt at the ball,
Correct.
right? It was
Mhm.
excessive contact, no attempt at the ball. I have no choice. I don't think any coach, they're probably going to argue because they always argue, always, right? But
Correct.
I don't think any coach really believes that that should not be an intentional foul.
Isn't there a certain thing as inadvertent contact and contact such as this? I mean, inadvertent contact would be such as, I'm running down the floor, but I'm trying to stop, but maybe I trip, go into the kid, you know, even though it was inadvertent, but he was trying to stop and he tripped and fell. But it's
Okay,
still
so
a
you're not,
foul.
yeah, you're not necessarily
saying.
saying incidental contact, but contact where his intention was not necessarily to foul as he fouled.
Mhm. It was
Yes,
just
that
a
can happen.
scenario.
That could still then just be a foul. Now, as officials, we need to judge that play and determine not only the intent of the player or the severeness of the contact or the, did he try to play the ball? We need to determine how it all happened. And now, am I going to make it a common foul? Am I going to make an intentional foul? Or am I going to make it a flagrant foul? Right? There's times, very rarely have I had to think about making a flagrant foul, but there are times where you have to consider it at least. And in those situations, I think you should talk to your partners and get their input because they may have seen it too. If you look on this play, I'm going to go back. If you look in this play, the center also had a foul on this. Right there. Do you see him?
Yep.
So you have at least one other official who has some knowledge as to what happened. If you're not sure if this is intentional or common, then you go up like this with an intentional. All right, the lead says clearly it's intentional, and then maybe they come in and like they're going to start something, right? Now you might want to come in. Maybe the center has some information saying you didn't see him. He actually took a swing with his left arm. You would have not seen that and tried to hit him, right? You could give that information. Who's going to upgrade that call?
Calling official.
The calling official, the official who rules on the initial foul is the only one who's going to upgrade that foul. In fact, they're going to decide whether they upgrade or not. So the center could say, I totally saw him swing and try and make a punch. And the lead could say, 100% no, I'm not going to do that. We're just going to go. And it's on him. And then if you get called out by your signer, you can say, I gave him the information, but it was his call and he wanted to go with, and that's all you can do at that point. But don't say nothing if you have information that will help.
Hey, Josh,
Yes.
as I've been in games where I've called intentional fouls and I was right there on it. And then I had my R turn around and say, I should have talked to him before I ever upgraded it to an intentional. What's your thoughts on that and how to handle that one?
Generally, when we go to an intentional, we'd like to confer with our partners because we want to make sure that it's an intentional foul, right? But some plays where one, maybe you're the only one that sees it, or two, it's just clear to everybody in the gym. I don't think you need to confer with anyone. If it's your assessment as to what happens, then it's your call. You may make that call. Don't say, well, I got to make sure I talk to my partners before I make an intentional. No, if you know it's intentional, you're good to go. I have a feeling he was trying to help you saying, look, maybe he didn't think it was intentional. Look, maybe come to us first before you go with this or go with that. If maybe you didn't look sure when you called it, I don't know. It could be of multiple reasons, but if in your mind, when you make that call, you know it is, that's fine. That's you. It's your judgment. Never rule an intentional foul. Have your partner come in and tell you it's not, and then downgrade it. I would never do it.
Agreed.
You can always
Can't do
upgrade
it.
to the next
Great.
level, but you look weak and you look indecisive if you're talked out of a higher level foul. Does that make sense?
Help me lose all your credibility.
Hey,
Yes, it
Josh,
does. Thank you.
Yes.
that's just a question, and I may be just missing my rules here. what makes that an intent, the one we saw, what makes that an intentional foul versus a flagrant?
No play for the ball.
Okay, so, well, that's a good question because
Yeah, but
that's really the hardest decision, I think, for officials in general, officials that have been working for 25, 35 years. It's
Right.
still very hard because, again, a flagrant foul means that kid is not just gone for that game. IHSA bylaws and the bylaws of many state associations, they out for the next game as well, right? So a flagrant foul is a huge penalty. A flagrant foul, in my opinion, is reserved for that player who intends to harm another player. If you think that kid went in and his intent was malicious and he's like, I'm taking him out, then yeah, throw him out, give him a flagrant foul. But if you think he just intentionally, he was trying to stop the play, made no attempt on the ball. Yeah, he hit him hard and excessive, but he wasn't maliciously trying to harm him. You
Right.
can just go with intention.
Right.
I gotta
if he
be-
fell down. If he fell in this play, it might be more likely to be flagrant.
Maybe. Again, it's hard because we have to rule intent of that player, right? We have to rule and say, I think he was trying to hurt that kid. And you know what? Maybe he wasn't. Maybe he just is an idiot and he ran too fast and couldn't stop. It's very possible, but we have to make that judgment. And if we do, again, stick with it. Don't fall short and be talked out of it by a coach or even another official. And if you're another official, don't talk, you try and talk your official out of downgrading a call. Don't. Because it makes you look like a bad partner. You have no trust in me. In the locker room at halftime, talk about it. Figure it out. Hey, I saw this. I wouldn't have done that. I, think maybe this. That's great. That's wonderful. That's where we talk about things, but not on the court after the call.
I just got a couple of things there. So, a little bit of devil's advocate with a couple points there. Okay, well, quick with intentional, it'd be easier if they would just call this flagrant 1 and flagrant 2, because ironically, intent doesn't really matter more often than not to rule it, because it says, it may or may not be premeditated. And I would say also with conferencing on these kind of things, I would say, if you even if it's obvious, I would say just like a 1 second, I got intentional, right, with everyone. I feel like that would be best so that you've built trust. And that way, if there's another one where you're not sure, you don't look like, oh man, they don't know this one. They have to talk about it for a long period of time, I would say, what's the harm in giving it 2 seconds to just say, we got it good, right? And then boom, you're done.
Well, again, in a play that I am 100% sure that it's intentional, I'm not going to confer with my partners. I will go to my partner and say, hey guys, we got an intentional foul. Especially, I guess maybe this is kind of your point, is you're just going to go boop and then, hey, a guy's got an intentional. But in a play like that, to me, that is excessive and hard and no play on the ball. I don't think you need to discuss that. And if your partners, both of them think that you went intentional too fast, either one, they're not very good partners. I'm talking about that play specifically. Or two, they, I don't want to upset the coach and I don't want, right? I don't want that either.
Yeah.
I'm not talking, I have some plays that hopefully we'll be able to discuss.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I think hopefully we'll have some plays that we can discuss. Was that, wasn't that, could we have, couldn't we have? I think this play specifically, there was no doubt. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't, if you like to confer with your partners every time, that's fine. If that makes you feel comfortable, but I don't think every play needs it because some of them are obvious in my opinion.
Well, I think the other benefit of the quick conference is just so that everyone's on the same page here of, okay, we're doing intentional, in case someone was, focusing on the potential fight that might break out and they missed, your X, be like, oh, we got something else.
Well, when you report that foul after all the melee, if there is a fight or if there is a possible fight or if there's something that's delaying, you need to make sure everybody knows, not just the table, that is an intentional foul. Take very good care in reporting an intentional foul because you want everyone to know that is what it is. And make sure they know it's an intentional foul and not a flagrant foul. Everyone thinks this is flagrant. I don't know why. They all think this is flagrant.
This-
The kid's gone and it's not. So just make sure everyone knows he's not ejected from the game, coach, but it's an intentional foul. And, everyone thinks when you line up, even for intentional fouls, like, well, why did they call it technical foul, right? Because people don't understand the intricacies. So, all right, let's go to the next video. I've talked too much on that one.
I emailed the video.
I got that.
Oh my God, bro. This is a whole Schroeder thing. Hey, that's a tape. That's a tape. Get him up. Get him up.
And you guys, I laugh every time at these kids when they're recording. Here it is, one more time, fast.
Bro, oh my God, bro. This is a whole Schroeder thing. Hey, that's a tape. That's a tape. Get him up. Get him up.
All right, I'm going to play it slow, but who here thinks that's a good call, or who thinks maybe they could have just called a common foul?
He goes for the ball.
It looks like he makes an attempt for the ball, yes?
Yeah. It's just a wrap up. That's a wrap up, Josh. It's a wrap up. And that's just a common foul.
Mhm.
Now, I could be swayed to a common foul, but to me, and I'm going to give all my opinion, is he made a play for the ball, definitely. Okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't overly excessive, but what does he do after he does it? Yes, you said it's a wrap up, but is this basketball?
Pushes it down. No.
This is not bad. This looks like wrestling.
It looks like wrestling or football. Like he's just kind of holding him and grabbing him. And now you could say, well, maybe he didn't want to hurt him. He was trying to keep him from falling, but then he lets him go.
Yeah, he lets him go.
But he didn't push off. You didn't see any extension of the arm. He wrapped him up. He went for the ball first, wrapped him up. Knew that he was committing a foul. But the way he handled it with more care than that previous video.
Right. Yeah. The kid's momentum is going. It's not like in a real push or he just wrapped him up, play for the ball, and
But Josh, I had a question for you. Maybe more related to the previous video. Do you pregame discussion? If we do have any, rivalry game, if we have any chaos out here, this is, calling official, this is your responsibility. The other two, I need you guys to do this. And in terms of, okay, I need you to get numbers. I need you to, communicate to the players, get them to their bench, and then I will stay on the ball and make sure I have my shooter and the fouler are identified. I mean, do you talk about that pregame, or do you expect your partners to naturally know their responsibilities and not just be, observers of the chaos?
Pre-game.
I don't. And not because I don't think I need to. I guess it is because I don't think I need to. Typically, when I work with officials that I'm already comfortable with, whether they're regular partners or not. I know that they're good officials. I know they know what they're doing. So I don't worry about things like that, because I know if we get that in our game, and in our games, I think everyone could say it rarely happens, or it doesn't happen very often, I should say. So if it does happen, we're usually on the same page, and we usually I'm going to slow, if I get an intentional foul, I'm going to slow myself down because I want to make sure that we get it right. Right.
But that's what I'm saying is that typically referees, when they see that action, the first tendency is to come in and be vocal about breaking up the action, right? But someone should be watching the benches, right? Did anyone come off the bench? Are there any other players trying to get into it? Let's get some room. Let's get some room. Got players separate. There has to be that is going on as well. And how do you, how should you approach that in terms of, everybody, have a role here? Let's make sure we're accounting for everybody.
Okay, so as far as an intentional foul that's not flagrant, that's not escalating, obviously anything can escalate. And yes, one person should always be watching, always, after a play. The person facing the table generally should be watching just to make sure. But we also shouldn't be looking for players who are coming off the bench. The rule in my opinion, I don't know if this is actually true or not. The rule as it is written for players that come off the bench for an unauthorized reason and then they're ejected and all that is really meant for fighting purposes, because they don't want players to come off and now they're engaging, and whether they fight or not, and you're gone because your intent was to, right? It's not about they came on and then they kind of came off, and we shouldn't be focusing so much on that I got 12 and I got 13 and number 5 did it. You understand what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So if we slow down, we focus on the action, the coaches will handle their benches, whether the kids take a foot or two or whatever on the floor, and then we will handle the players. If they spill out, then yes, we need to be aware. We need to know that that's going on. But intentional fouls rarely rise to that level. When it gets to maybe flagrant, it could. I'm not saying that intentionals can't. But yeah, that's not necessarily a bad thing to cover in your pregame. I just don't. I'm a terrible pregamer. I don't cover many things in my pregame because I don't know if I just don't like it or I don't feel it's necessary. I don't know exactly what the reason is, but maybe because
I had a couple of rival schools and that resulted in fights, and they had to clear the gym, and the game had to stop. And so when they play each other again, there's always that that recall of what happened last time, and it's like, okay, guys, we need to make sure that we're aware, what's going on and how to manage the game properly. But thank you for that. Good
and that's something that I would say you should cover, not so much how to handle that situation, but that situation happened. Hey, I had these teams earlier or last year or 3 years ago or whatever. A fight broke out. If it happens again, let's just make sure, right? Just a little blurb. Everyone is now aware that it could happen. And so if it does, you're a little bit more heightened. All right. Any other comments before I move to the next video?
Yeah, Josh, I would just say, I always instruct my officials to do a pregame. In that pregame, they do a fight procedure as well as intentional. All that in the pregame. Just a blur, even with the veteran official, because some veteran officials they don't even mention it, And then when they get to a rivalry game such like that, I had 2 schools playing on the same night, two rivalry schools playing the same night, and one crew was stronger than the other crew. So I made a mistake going out and evaluate the strong crew vice the other crew. And I was like, man, I should have went to that dang other school because I knew the officials that was on the game. I was like, well, there's gonna be something happening. Sure enough, a fight broke out.
Well, and I think it's important for almost every comment when people say we should talk about that in our pregame. Most pregame stuff is not a drawn out conversation about something.
No.
It's hey, fight broke out last week. It got kind of bad, or we threw the coach out, or this kid, and that's it. Now everyone knows, hey, okay, got it. Fight, we're going to be on it, right? Because we're assuming everyone can handle their own business. Now, if you have someone that is weak and needs a little extra attention, then you give it a little extra attention. But if stuff that you cover in pregame is not a big, long 30-minute pregame in the locker room. You just blurb this, blurb that, brief comment. Okay.
Over the double team. Neal got a hand on it. Slots it ahead to Jackson. Whoa. And now fair. Whistled for the intentional foul. Wow.
The commentator says, wow. Now, what's he saying wow to? The foul or the intentional foul call? What do you guys think?
Over the double team. Neal got a hand on it. Slots it ahead to Jackson. Whoa. And now fair. Whistled for the intentional foul.
Why is he walking away?
Right there. Didn't really go for the ball. It pulled him down.
It looked like he took a tomahawk at the ball.
Here we go.
He did though for the ball.
I thought he went for the ball. He didn't get it.
Yeah, he did.
I think he made a legitimate attempt, even with this angle. And you're right. It's hard. This is the angle the referee has, right? Which is a terrible angle to have. He should have stopped at about the 3-point line, extended, so he could look into those players. But that's easier said to do after the fact. So I get he's running with the play. But when we see what happened, it really looks like he makes a legitimate attempt for the ball. Does he get the ball? No, but that doesn't mean he didn't attempt to get it. He's trying to knock it loose.
He actually tried to get his body in front of him.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he even really bumped him down. I'm not saying the contact,
a block.
yeah, I'm not saying the contact that he caused, the slight contact he caused, didn't knock him over. I'm not saying that, but it didn't look like he like really ran into him. It didn't even look like, see his backhand? It doesn't look like he's pulling him down. I think the kid lost his balance from the little bump and then went down hard. Now, again, I'm not saying this is nothing, right? He didn't do anything. It's not a, but I'm not sure that for me, this rises to the level of an intentional foul.
Well, I think, you know, as you said, he was too close. He had no angle. I mean, he hustled to get down there, but then right here, those 3 extra steps, he can't see if the kid pulled him, pushed him, or whatever. He doesn't even see the slap. So he wasn't really in a good position to make that call. I mean, it was definitely a foul, but I think he may have overreacted a little bit.
So
Hey, Josh.
I was going to say, in the calling official's defense, that defender wrapped his left arm around him before he hit the ball.
I agree. There's a lot of telltale signs here of that this could be intentional. I agree. That's why we're talking about it, because even though I may say I think this is just a common, that doesn't mean I'm right. That just means my assessment and the look of the play, I probably wouldn't have gone intentional. But did he actually grab him here to pull him down? Maybe. And if he did, if he grabs him here and kind of yanks on him, that's not a basketball play. That's an intentional foul. Do we agree with that?
Oh, for sure.
I'm just not sure that's what happened.
Well, when you show that angle from the you know, the end line, it certainly looks like he just tried to get the ball, you know, swung at the ball. His hand didn't even hit him. It was his body that got in front of him. And, you know, essentially just blocked the guy. It's a foul, but yeah, I don't think it's an intentional foul.
From that angle, I'd agree. I think it looks common, but looking from that backside where he wraps, that's the part that then where I could, I think I could understand the officials making the call.
Yeah, I mean,
because the official was straight line.
Yeah, he's stacked. He's stacked. He can't see.
So let's say, first of all, let's say he should have realized right here when this fast break started, I'm beat.
Yep.
Right? So he should have been saying to himself, I'm stopping right here.
Right there.
Because he already knew at half court he was beat. So he's going to have to stop so he can look into the play when it happens. All right. Then this happens and we all agree it could have, maybe could have not. It all depends. And here's some telltale signs here. This is a great one for me to have just a regular foul call and go to my partners and say, do you guys see anything that causes this to be upgraded? I think you could even go in and say, I think this was an intentional foul. Do you guys see anything that says it shouldn't be? Right? Maybe they say, I've got nothing on this play. And then you could make your ruling based on what you think. But I think this is a good one where you can get together just because it's a fast break, just because he fell down, just because there's kind of a little, doesn't really make it an intentional foul, in my opinion. Now, again, for all the other reasons, if this happened or that happened, it may have. Right? But this is one of those ones I think where we maybe should talk about it before we signal right away. Yes? No?
Yeah, agree.
I was gonna say, it looks like the
I agree.
referee closest to the country financial had a look on it coming in last second before he called the intentional.
They were all way behind the play because it was a steel transition, but he may have had some information.
He was way behind.
Someone else mentioned too, there's no way that guy should be leaving the scene of the crime like that. When you got 2 guys on the floor like that, you don't signal a foul and then run to the table.
Well, that's a good point. Is as soon as he signals, he kind of walks away.
Yeah.
Look, you got guys running in here. His partner came running in, which is great. His partner is on top of it.
Agreed. The partner got there. Agreed.
But just stand here. You signal up. I'm okay with the signal right away too. If you think it's intentional, you signal, fine. stand there and wait and make sure everything is cool and calm before you go to the table.
For sure.
Yeah, you don't have any time limit to get to the bench, over to the, the table.
No time limit at all. Game ain't going to start without you. Right? Although I had a clip, I don't know if I ever shared it with you, where they did start the game without the officials.
Oh, seriously?
That's probably because you were.
They ultimately caught it and stopped and wait. But yeah, there was a out of bounds call, ball went away, they grabbed it and they passed it in without the official. It was quite comical.
Is that a game you were on?
No, it was just a game I was evaluating. Made my
Hey, Josh, can I ask a question? It's related to intentional foul, but not this play.
Okay.
And it happened to me literally last week.
Okay.
In a high school game. And I think I blew it. I want to make sure. It was down low and the ball went into the offensive player, and the defensive player reached down and fouled the guy, hit him on the arm.
Okay.
And I raised my hand, I blew the whistle for the foul. They were in the bonus. Right after he hit the guy and I raised my hand, he grabbed his arms around the guy and kind of held him. That was after I blew the whistle. Now, what I called, which I think is wrong, I literally called 1-and-1 on a common foul, and then I gave the kid an intentional foul. I gave him 2 fouls, technically on the same play.
Okay.
Was that wrong?
So without seeing the play,
Right.
do the best of this is what I heard. Kid got fouled. You blew your whistle. Then he grabs him.
And held him.
Okay. I'm going to evaluate that play on what I think is happening. Did he hold him because he fouled him and thought, I don't want him to fall down?
No.
Whether it's being nice or not, or is he holding him because he was trying to be a jerk?
Yes.
Or did he foul him and then kind of hold him all in one motion? Okay.
No.
Those are all things that I'm going to evaluate. So fouled him. You got it. New action, grabs and holds him because he wants to be a jerk.
Yep.
Foul.
Right.
But it's a dead ball.
That's
contact foul.
Correct.
Any contact on a dead ball must be ignored and ruled incidental unless you rule it to be an intentional act or a flagrant act, at which point it's an intentional technical foul. So technically you were right. It was an intentional foul. It's just an intentional technical foul.
Right.
And yeah, if he was doing it to be a jerk and you have to set the tone and say, we can't do that, then he gets 2 fouls. Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah, my partner said you should have just upgraded it to 1 intentional foul.
You could have done that the easy way, but it depends on what you're trying to convey. If it really is a whole separate act after the fact, then you have to treat it as such. And you've got to let the coaches know, we're not doing this. You don't get to do whatever you want after I blow the whistle. The contact that you ignore after the whistle is the stuff it's just regular play and it's continuing on and okay, everyone's kind of stopping. That's why they say if it's an intentional act, they did it intentionally after the whistle, that's a foul.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right, here's a good one. This happened a couple years ago. I don't know if I've ever shown it. I'll just play it fast, but it's going to happen in the lane on the west side of the court. All right. You're going to miss it, I think, but I got it zoomed in. Okay, now that you see him pointing to who did the action, I want you to watch again fast before I hit slow. Did you see it?
I disagree. I feel like that should have been 22.
Here we go.
Yeah, that should have definitely been
low blowed him.
No. White 10.
No, white guy gave him a low blow shot.
White 10. Watch what white 10 does. the defender of 22 blue. I don't care what 22 blue did. Maybe he fouled him. I don't know. That's not what I care about.
Oh, he
He
punched
punched him in the nuts.
Yeah.
Now, we talked about this. The only person that saw the play was the official that called it. And good thing he was refereeing the play and he saw the play. Great. And I'm glad he had a call, even though it was the wrong call. He had something. He needed to have something and set this tone. This happened in the first quarter of the game. I want to say it was the first 3 minutes of the game, if I can remember right. This was several years ago. We talked about it. He said it probably wasn't a technical foul. And I said, no, it couldn't have been a technical foul because it was contact, right? And it was a live ball. So it's not a technical foul. I don't think that was an intentional foul either. It was one of these. He didn't hit him hard. He didn't swing, to take him out. But that is a punch to another player. That's flagrant. You're gone.
He's gone.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering when I saw it on the second replay then.
Now, I understand why he did what he did because the game just started. Do you want to throw a player out with the first 3 minutes? Nobody wants to do that, right? But if he clearly swings and hits him in the
nuts,
groin, I mean, that's no way. And you can tell the coach can yell at me all you want and say, Coach, you check the video after. I'm not having that in my game. He's done. So don't be afraid if you are certain that he punched, little as it may be, don't be afraid. All right. Here's another. Well, I'll just play it. Okay. Intentional foul right out of the gate. He blows his whistle, doesn't even put his fist up. I mean, maybe he did, but it's so quick, intentional foul. What do you guys think?
This is common. I've seen this a lot.
Oh, jeez.
Common.
You made it. Yeah, that's a common too.
Okay, now, first of all, let me pause this. First of all, he just grabs him with his arm, right? He just grabs him, kind of pulls him, and then comes around with the other side to try and get him. I think, this is the fourth quarter, I think. Let's see. It's
fourth quarter.
Fourth quarter with 2 minutes to go. So we don't know the context of this game, right? A lot of stuff could have happened, and he's coming to set a tone. So take all of that out of it. To me, I think even though he fouled him really badly, he just was grabbing and holding and pulling. I think he was really just trying to make a play on the ball to stop the shot. I don't think he was making an intentional foul type play. You could say it is, and by the book, I think it is. But it looks to me like this is a drive, and the kid's like, I just need to make sure I foul him because I don't want him to score. Do we agree or no? Does anyone see differently?
Yeah, I mean, from the back, I mean, yeah, it looks like he eased off, so yeah, I think that's just a common foul.
I think he's watching too much NBA, which is a legitimate thing to do. You can grab the opponent. That's an intentional foul by this guy.
Maybe.
High school it is, not pro.
Well, again, I agree that by rule, the way the rule is written, that it's an intentional foul, 100%. I just don't think in this scenario it applies appropriately.
Oh.
Now again,
because it wasn't really bad enough. Like all he did was like wrap him around. He didn't pull him down or nothing. He just did to stop the play.
Right. Yeah. It wasn't flagrant. It was intentional.
He intentionally tried to foul the kid, but I don't think and that's what Mr. Pepperman was saying earlier is because they name it intentional foul, it really kind of can dirty up the rule because a lot of fouls are done intentionally. but they're just common fouls. Just because the intent is there to foul doesn't mean it's an intentional foul. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
So he was definitely trying to foul him. And I think he did a poor job of trying to foul him.
The ball
But
went in.
I just think it wasn't. Now, let's say that's the next thing I want to talk about. Okay, we've got an intentional foul because he called it. He's got it. We're not going to downgrade. We're not going to go and talk to him and say, I didn't think this or that, right? And the ball goes in. So what do we do now?
Get the players back, clear the lanes.
What is the penalty for an intentional foul when a basket is made?
2 shots and the ball.
Two in the ball?
It's the same penalty if the basket's not made.
It's 2 shots in the
It's
ball.
good. He gets the 2 points as long as you feel he was fouled in the act of shooting, which I think he was. He gets the 2 points for the basket and he gets 2 free throws. Then he gets the ball afterwards, nearest the spot of the foul, but not next year, right? Nearest the spot of the foul.
Wait, not next year?
Did you not see the rule changes?
I've been seeing them bit by bit. I haven't.
Well,
read
we'll
all of
talk
them.
about that later. I don't want to get
Yeah,
into it right
that's-
now because that's going to then veer us all the way off to.
Okay. Well, I think that was a good intentional on this one, by the way. The rule is there because you're not allowed to just stop the player's progress just because it's the smart play to do. Same thing as like the NBA does take the lead. It's like a take foul. It's like they got rid of those because it's like just because you're trying to safely get rid of the advantage doesn't mean that's an okay play to do.
Okay, but do you not agree? Do you not agree that there are plays where the coach says, if he gets by you on that, just reach in and foul him and knock the ball out of his hand and we'll take the foul instead of the 2 points? Are you going to give an intentional foul for that? Because the intent is to intentionally foul that player so they don't get that free take.
But you said it, Jake, reach in and try to foul him, not grab the guy.
I think using 2 arms is more likely to be intentional instead of using 1 arm. If you use 2, it's going to be more likely to be intentional.
Yes.
I agree with Greg's
this
statement on
act
that.
right about here, you think this is what makes it intentional? Because now it looks like he's just trying to bear hug him.
Yeah, from behind.
For sure.
Right,
Yeah.
I could be swayed to say, okay.
I agree with Greg's statement on that. As to me, as soon as he does the left arm to wrap around and grab him, that's where then to me it changes.
And
If he would have just hacked him with the right arm on it, to me that's common. As soon as he's wrapping up the second one from behind, that's where it escalated.
So let me ask a question. So what happens when they're at midcourt and they're just trying to get to the bonus so that they can get the ball back? And I've seen it a bunch of times where a player comes out and just literally just wraps him up. How different is that?
Okay, so I'm going to say 2 things. Well, hopefully they don't conflict each other. The case book, it's not in the rules book, but the case book says there's a couple plays like that. Fouling at the end of the game, intentionally fouling at the end of the game to get the team to the bonus or to get them onto the line to shoot is a legitimate strategy to be used and should not be called intentional fouls. That is not the purpose of that rule. The purpose of the rule is a non-basketball play where they're making no attempt. So if they're trying to foul to put them on the line, even if it's a bear hug, the first one, I'm probably going to say common foul. Hey kid, you can't just hug them. You got to try and play the ball. And I'll say to the coach, I'm not going to do intentional on that, but he's got to, okay, right? The first one I'll usually go, now if it's really bad, I mean, if he really gets, that's one thing. But there's a lot of times these kids, they just don't know. Their coach told them they need to foul, so they're going to make sure that they foul, right?
Well, I also think as referees, we got to know the situation and know, okay, they're going to go after him. And if they're ready to foul them and they're at their back, that whistle is ready to go, right? Now, the only thing I will say on this one before here, where he called the intentional, I think he could have been a second later on his whistle, let the play finish, and maybe then he would have made a different decision. I mean,
if he watched that ball go in, again, this is another one that I think would have been great to go to a partner and say, I thought that was intentional. Do you guys have a reason that it's not? or I'm not sure if that's intentional or not. Do you guys have anything to help me? I think that is a good play because it walks the line enough where you'd be okay one way or the other. And now you can confer. That's not a absolutely 100% intentional foul. I don't need to talk to anybody. I'm getting it. Right?
I mean, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. And then when you saw the ball goes in, then you're like, oh, we're not upgrading it to intentional because then we got a basket that went in, then we take the ball out, then the guy gets 2 shots, then we take the ball out of bounds.
Or you could,
what if it didn't go in?
or you could have a partner.
Then you can upgrade it.
Or you could have a partner that comes in and says, yeah, absolutely. He just grabbed him with 2 hands. That's an intentional foul. Give him the points and give him 2 shots.
That's
I'm okay
true.
with that because now you know 2 people saw the same thing.
Yeah.
Right?
On the scenario where you were talking about towards the end of the game and somebody wrapping up, I had an AAU game this last winter where it was actually the winning team was basically forcing the losing team to kill clock in a running clock scenario, that they weren't completely wrapping up, but they were putting 2 hands. They weren't shoving, but they were putting 2 hands on him. And the losing team coach is like, he's got 2 hands on him. It's intentional foul. I'm like, no, it's not intentional. Yeah, he probably should be fouling with 1 going for the ball,
Right.
but he wasn't shoving the person. He was putting 2 hands. He puts 2 hands on him. It's a, sort of a hand check call. To me, that was just a common foul. I explained to the coach, he's like, oh, he's got 2 hands on him. I'm like, no, it's just a common foul. Yeah, I can instruct the kids, hey, you got to go for the ball, which I did, but it clearly wasn't an intentional
And that
foul.
goes back to Mike too. As officials, we need to be able to read the situation.
Mhm.
What were the players intending? Yes, we have to rule intent and try and piece together the appropriate ruling for the appropriate situation. We don't get it right all the time. I get that, but we try to get it right.
And just going to the coach, you just probably going to be a timeout or something. There's some chance just to say, are you fouling right now? That way I'll just give it to you right away. Or are you trying to do something else? Then we'll, be more patient.
All right. One more intentional, and then I got to play my bonus play, right? Everyone expects a bonus play nowadays. Here, let's do this one. This one was submitted. I might play another one after this. This was submitted by Mr. Pepperman. Last minute, I might say. Thanks for giving me the ability to prep for it.
I was looking for one of these for a while, and I forgot I had this one clipped from like months ago.
Let's play this out. We'll watch it.
Team control foul.
Does anybody have anything other than a common foul on this?
No.
No.
Now remember, we are NFHS. I don't know the actual rule in the NBA, but isn't there some kind of, what is it called?
Clear path foul.
Clear path, yes. So that doesn't apply here, even though I think that might be a case in NBA. The kid is trying to go for the ball. Do we agree?
Right there.
He trips over his own feet or maybe over the other kid's feet, falls onto the other kid's leg. Okay. Not incidental. I don't think it's incidental, right?
No,
that's a foul.
Like I said, it's inadvertent contact, right?
Yeah, clearly hits him, knocks him over, but it's not intentional.
No intent.
Because it's not, there is no clear path type ruling in high school. It's all based on contact, severity, and intent.
But okay, can I defend why?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Based on the rule, it may or may not be premeditated, and the severity is not the only factor. And then part A says contact that neutralizes an opponent's obvious advantageous position. How does he not have clear, obvious advantageous position? There's not a defender for 20 feet. He's going to score 2 points if he's not fouled.
Yeah, but it's not intentional.
I will say because, and this is
need
why,
to be premeditated.
Okay, but I would say, but premeditated is okay. Right here, he said, "Oh, I'm totally going to grab him." That's premeditated. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be seconds before. Then he
He
falls.
goes-
Did he premeditate to knock him on there? No, but he also didn't want to do it. He fell and did it by accident. Intentional foul by the name has to be done intentionally. It has to be an act that they meant to do, unless it's severe or excessive, and then it doesn't have to necessarily be intentional. And I know it's not exactly what it says in the rule, and I know there's a lot of stuff that we have to read into because it's poorly written, and I agree with you. If they were to change it to flagrant 1, flagrant 2, it might help us rule on these better, but it doesn't. And I truly believe the rule was written as an intent to neutralize the position. His intent was not to contact and to neutralize. He just happened to fall down. Yes? No?
He
Yeah.
preferred to have
It's just
stayed
a
on his
foul.
feet.
It's just a foul. I mean, you got to call a foul, but it's all. I don't think it's intentional.
See,
No.
here's part of, maybe it's kind of a
And I
philosophy
understand
that's
what you're saying, but I would just call that a foul.
maybe it's a philosophy that's too isolated to myself. But when the high school rules are vague, I think you have to go to college and then NBA rules and go, what's the common practice there? Because those seep down into high school, which form our rule book, and both of those would call this their version of intentional foul.
Yeah. And
Now, our rules don't spell that out.
And
but
I'm not disagreeing with you.
I disagree 100% because the Federation has
So do I.
said, we do not want this rule that the college has because this is not college. This is high school. There are a lot of rules that they don't adopt. Many of them do, but a lot of them that they don't adopt because college is a higher level of officiating. That's the Federation saying that. So I'm not going to look to the college rule and say, well, the high school rule doesn't really spell this out. Let's call it like college, or let's call it like the NBA. No, those are higher levels. All those players are better. And then the next level, they're even better. And so they write the rule because those players can deal with more or not more. And I'm not saying you're wrong on this play. I'm saying when I look at it, I'm looking for an intentional act by that player or a severe excessive act which may not have been intentional that's going to cause me to make that play.
I don't want to change the subject, but it's a very hard subject to study, the team control fouls. Do you have any bonus free throws taken on that play that you just showed?
On the play that I just showed,
Yep.
that's not a team control foul.
That's not a team control foul.
The defense fouled the offensive player.
Who had the ball?
Who had the ball? The kid who was dribbling to go shoot the layup.
Offense.
Yeah, it did not look controlled to me. But
Hold on.
I could be wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, he had control.
Okay, so right now White has the ball, right?
Yep.
But it gets deflected. And
Steal.
Blue has
Never
the
had
ball.
it.
Blue has the ball.
Right there.
Right there.
Okay, right there.
Yeah.
I mean, you could even
There's
say
control.
well, Blue doesn't have it, and I'm going to say there's still team control. I don't know. I don't think there's team control here.
No, he's got it.
You're right. You could make a case that he hasn't gained control yet, although right here, I think he made a dribble intentionally. He started a dribble, which gives him control, but
Because I've seen this video before. I don't know where I've seen it, like on YouTube or something. Where'd you get this video, Jay Pepperman?
It's Jacob. And this was just a game I was reviewing and I thought it was an interesting play. It was posted on the Facebook group a while ago.
Yeah, I could have sworn this play was this play was posted about the team control situation.
Yeah, by the defender.
You want to call team control on
Blue
that?
shooting, free throws there. Okay.
You call team control on that, you're gonna get in a lot of trouble. But
yeah, I don't know, but he could be right. All right, let's do this bonus play. Oh, wait. I want to do one more. This is a good one.
Oh.
About this.
Y'all see that?
Long. It's all night long. It's all night long. You got a great space between the big fella.
Oh yeah.
And how
Now the official, good strong whistle, good strong signal. What does he do?
Elbow right to his
there.
face.
Oh,
Absolutely. And
I
it
didn't
is
see it at first
in
till
the-
he slowed it down. I saw him turn. I just didn't see the elbow up to
It
the
goes
chest.
up and then out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Now, do we think he didn't call intentional here? But do we think that was an intentionally act? He did that intentionally?
No.
I don't know if he did it intentionally, but it's definitely a good foul.
That's when they
I mean,
go
it
to,
kind of looks like he does, because even with the ball right here, he can see both defenders on both in front of him and the left side in his peripheral.
Do you all remember? And I know it's not in the rules, and I hate it when guys do this to me, so take this with a grain of salt. Do you remember about 8 years ago or so when they talked about excessive moving arm? Excessive moving elbow.
This is a swinging of elbows. Yep.
Okay, and they talked about any excessive swinging elbow above the head probably should be called intentional, because you can't excessively swing your elbow up that high and expect not to hit somebody. Right. That was kind of their thought processes. Do you see his body moving with this arm?
His body moves to the left.
He's not moving his frame. He moves his arm, hits him, and then he makes a move with his frame. Do we agree?
Yeah.
That's a good point, Josh.
Yeah, but don't usually in a twisting motion, your arms are going to go first, then your body. I don't think your arms are going to trail on a pivot like that.
No, but your arms will go with your body.
Right.
Okay, I'll give you that.
Right.
No, unless you're trying to clear the guy out in the head.
That's what he's doing now.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think was flagrantly trying to knock him in the nose and put him down, but I think he knew what he was doing when he moved his elbow to clear him out right in his face so he can go up and easy. That's an intentional foul. He caused contact up here with just his elbow moving. Right now, if he turned with his whole body and went into him, I could say, oh, he was just making a basketball move. And yes, it's unfortunate and it hurt, but I'm going to go regular foul. But that one, I think he did this, then he started to turn.
He got him in the face.
Those are tough plays too, because again, nobody wants to call an intentional foul on a play like that, but we need to be aware of what these players are doing because some of them are smart.
Yeah,
They make that excessive swinging of arms a foul even without contact? I don't recall how that was.
It's a player control foul.
Well,
No, if you don't make contact, it's a violation.
Contact is a turnover. Non-contact is a turnover.
Contact
can be a flagrant though.
That's what Rick's saying. Yeah. Okay.
The insinuation they made about 8 years, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago, when I think they added in the excessive swinging elbow rule, I think is when it all came out. But the insinuation was if you have contact that hits above the shoulders into the head with an excessive moving elbow, which means the elbow's moving and the body's not, right? They're saying that it should almost always, I don't know, remember exact wording, but they didn't say it was absolute, but they said that should be an intentional foul. Okay, now the rule book is clear and it says anything could be or not be. We get to make that judgment and that ruling. But the point of emphasis back then was if you see it, you call it. Remember, that was also when the concussion thing all started. And they're all very in tune about any head contact. Anyway, all right. Bonus video. For those of you that are on Facebook, this was on Facebook a couple days ago. And this play is 2 separate angles. I'm going to play the first one and stop it, and you tell me what you think. And then we'll play the second one and see if our opinions change.
Only James Niebrugge. He has 8. Strong and count it.
Why he called across the paint?
Okay. Lead calls a blocking foul. Do you agree or disagree?
Strong and count it.
That angle, I thought he had his feet set before. Ooh.
Oh, no.
Originally, I would have thought he had his feet set before the guy elevated.
Okay, now hold on.
That's really
Because, you know, I'm a big block charge guy. He's got 2 feet on the floor and he's facing his opponent. Yes?
Right.
Yeah.
Now you could say, well, he's moving now. Okay, but it looks like he's just like moving into his frame, walling up, getting ready to get hit. I don't think he's like, okay, I'm sliding into you. Okay, I'm going to get hit. Here we go. Okay. Do we agree? I think this to me looks like a charge.
Yep.
Charge all day.
He goes straight up. He's got vertical.
And just gets taken out by this dribbler.
Yeah, because
Alright.
I felt like he was moving toward the defense or toward the
I don't
offensive
think
player,
so,
but then he
because
got
he
himself
falls
set. He
back.
wasn't still moving toward the dribbler.
I don't think
as he
so,
did-
because
as
he
did.
falls back. If he was moving
Yeah.
to the dribbler, he would go forward.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah,
how
I felt
much
like he was moving toward it until he got set to take the charge.
All right,
And then
and
he was.
I
think
don't
it's a
follow
block.
all this slight movement. If he's slightly moving
Yeah.
forward, I don't follow
Yeah.
that.
I don't think
I
so.
think he
Yeah.
is standing straight up to take the hit.
Mhm.
That's
For
what he did.
sure.
Okay. Now hold on.
Okay.
Now we have another angle because this is a state game, and this angle is actually, for the most part, from the lead's perspective. Here it comes. Anyone still see a charge, or do we change our mind after that?
That's
He
a
definitely
block.
jumped
That's a
over
block.
It's
Yeah.
a block. He
That's a-
shifted
Because
it.
he-
Definitely a block. It shifted everything.
Okay. Still,
But-
I know it's slight, but still totally has a legal guarding position right here.
Right.
Do we agree? At
Yes.
this moment in time, he has a legal guarding position.
Yes.
Yep.
And then
Yeah.
the dribbler notices, crap, he's in my way, because that's the path he's taking, totally that way, right at him. And he slightly moves his path to try and avoid. So the defender slides into
As a block.
Yeah,
The
he brought his,
dribbler.
he
And-
brought his
and he
left
went
foot
forward.
over.
Yep.
You can see the left foot slides. It makes it look like.
Yeah.
Still.
So
Yeah,
from
he-
this angle, you can see the defender clearly moved into a new path to cause the contact moving toward his opponent.
Yep.
That's a block.
It's not
Yep, good call.
100%, but watching the first angle, and if I'm up in the stands and I'm evaluating, I'm going to say, okay, we got to talk about this play. But we can't, and this is what I said in Facebook, the point of this is less about block charge plays and more about we can critique all these plays we see online and on Facebook and YouTube, and can critique, and we can even have a different ruling and wonder how the official came up with that, and right. But don't be so fast to be so absolute in your judgment, because the angle on the floor that official saw might be completely different than what you're looking at.
Yeah.
People that say video doesn't lie are
Yeah.
wrong. Video lies all the time. It all depends on where you're
Oh,
looking.
yeah, all right. Yeah.
All right. So what do you guys think? Did we show enough intentional foul plays? I
Yeah.
know we argued a lot. Oh, wait, I did want to mention real quick. Send me an email. I got to share this screen real quick. Send me an email, because this is the end. May is the last meeting of this season. The basketball season goes from July to May, right? We do once a month, every month, all year long. I have put together a new schedule for next year. I just put a few topics down that I wanted to discuss. They're not necessarily going to be in this order yet, but I've got a lot of slots that I'm not sure what I want to talk about. So if you want something to talk about during a meeting, now is the time to get your input in. All right. Email me or text me, or however you message me, Facebook me, however you do it, and say, can you put this in there? It doesn't guarantee that it's going to get on the list, but I'm not going to know what you want to talk about unless you send it to me. And that's how I kind of work it in. And then we have it all set for the next year, and then we'll do all it again next year.
Great.
All right.
Hey, Josh,
Right,
Josh, I
guys.
Great
sent your
discussion.
email.
Thank you.
Great weekend.
All right. So
Yeah.
have a good June. Have a good clinic month in June, and we'll see you back in July.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
You all have a good evening.
Thanks, Josh.
Good night.